Hello. This is a hand spindle. It was the first tool made for spinning fibers beyond the use of the human hand. This particular hand spindle is as simple and as basic as it gets. It's 100% wood. In shape, it looks like a bell curve. It's bulbous in the middle and comes down to a point at each end. Hand spindles were commonly used throughout history, throughout many cultures across the planet. Simply in Western traditions, we have the ancient Greeks, Romans, and the Egyptians, all using variations of the hand spindle. In fact, the Egyptians were good enough to show us in pictograph form in their tombs exactly how they were using the hand spindle. This particular spindle, however, is a reproduction. It's based on a spindle, an 18th century spindle from the Goshenhoppen area of southeastern Pennsylvania. That's an area just north of Philadelphia. It was settled by Germans, Moravians, and English, among others. In fact, among the Moravian settlers, we know that children, boys and girls, from the ages of 4, 5, and 6 were being taught how to spin using hand spindles first, and then they would progress to the spinning wheel. This type of spinning uses the same technique that is still used on walking wheels for spinning wool. It has a point, and we call this type of spinning off the point or from the tip, because the thread actually rolls off the tip of the thread as we're spinning it, basically as we're making the thread. And as we're extending our arm, it continues to roll off the tip until our arm is fully extended, and that is the length of our thread. Now we need another tool. In addition to the spindle, we need a distaff. And I'm going to show you the type of distaff we use for the hand spindle and how to dress it. This is the distaff that we're going to be using with the hand spindle as well as the drop spindle. This particular model design is Eastern European, perhaps Lithuanian. It's made from a single piece of wood. I call this the paddle distaff because it looks very much like a canoe paddle at one end. And then there's a long shaft and it tapers. You need the shaft because you're going to be sticking the base of the shaft into your belt, a waistband, even a buttonhole, an apron, a petticoat, something like that, something to support the distaff while it simply lays in the crook of your arm and you're able to draw down the fibers. Now, to dress this distaff, I'm going to be using some flax fibers, and I have here a strip or twist of flax. This is flax that we get from Holland, and we have a source that will provide later on so that if you want to try out this flax, you can get it yourself. It's quite long. It's over 1 yard, or as they would say in Holland, a meter. And we're going to be using maybe about half of this flax. We're going to pull it out. We're going to beat each end of it on our knee to loosen it up. And then, I think I'm going to split this one more time. Then we're going to lay it out on our lap. You want the ends hanging down as loosely as possible. Then you take the distaff in one hand and you pull up some of the fibers. Actually, Christian is much better at this than I am. He's going to be showing you how to dress a birdcage distaff with a later wheel. But right now I'm going to show you how we do the paddle distaff. You can see how the flax pulls upon itself. The trick is to get it to pull from the middle. You don't want to pull from the ends if at all possible, because then it doesn't wrap evenly onto the distaff. This is a trick he taught me. Sort of the shaking of it to prevent too much from getting up at once. The dressing of the distaff should be done by children even probably at the ages of 3 or 4 years of age. It's a very simple task once you achieve it. So that each family member had a role and a task to do in the process of providing clothing for the family. I'm going to continue pulling it up. Here we go. Now when it comes out to the end like this, I find it best just to lift it up and turn it on, looking very much like cotton candy. There was one little girl told me she was sure it didn't taste like cotton candy, and I assured her that she was correct. Now, once you run out of the fiber, I simply mat the fibers down with my hand so it doesn't come off the distaff. So, we've dressed the distaff. We're going to get the spindle, and then we're going to start with the hand spinning. Here we are set up. Hand spindle in one hand, the distaff in the crook of my arm. The bottom is actually stuck inside my belt. Now, what I like to do with the spindles, I like to turn the spindle towards me. Obviously, you can either turn it away from you or towards you. It's just my preference. I like to turn it towards me. What you'll see is that as it's turning, the thread is actually rolling right off the tip. So that as I'm turning the hand spindle, I'm actually putting a twist into the thread. The thing is that the twist is so slow, and by a slow twist I mean the twist is it's a very weak, thin twist. And basically what you have to do is spin it 2 or 3 times. The first time you're basically making a roving, and then the second time you actually spin it into a thread tight enough that you can actually weave with it. This is again how the Egyptians did it. They wove, they spun their threads at least twice, and sometimes more often than that, to get a tight twist in their thread. So what we're going to do with one hand is we're going to pull out some fibers, and we're going to use a lot of spit in this. The spit actually helps keep the twist into the thread. And so with one hand, with my left hand, I'm going to be pulling down the fibers. With my right hand, I'm going to be twisting the spindle, and that twist is going to run up into the fibers. Now what happens with this type of spinning is that you are limited in the length of the thread you can make by the extension of your arm. And you see what happened? This was so weak that it actually split and fell apart on me. So we're going to try that again. I'll pull out some of that fiber, let it drop. We'll pull down some more fiber. Again, lots and lots of spit on this. We'll wrap the fibers around the thread. We're going to try it again. Let's see what happens. And I'm twisting the fibers, or twisting the spindle towards me, pulling out threads with my left hand. And also with my left hand, as I'm helping to twist the fibers. As you can see, I'm actually twisting them with my hand, pulling down the fibers. And as I said, there's an extent, there's a limit to how far and how long the thread will be, and that limit is how long your hand is, your arm. Because once you get out to the full extension of your arm, you have to stop spinning. Then you unravel the thread from the end of the spindle, and you just like to lay the butt of the spindle against my body like this. Wrap it on, twist it around the tip of the spindle, and you start off again with a liberal amount of spit. And you can see that the thread is indeed loosely spun. It is more like a roving. This is certainly not a thread that is ready for weaving. You'd have to spin it at least one more time. And then the way it comes off the tip is exactly the way that a walking wheel works, where you're spinning the wool off the tip of the point. Again, get out to the end of your arm, loosen it up a little bit, put it against your body, roll it up, wrap it around, and continue spinning. It takes a long time to do this, especially because you're going to have to spin every thread at least twice. But again, this was a very important invention, because with this invention, you were actually able to use an artificial device apart from your body to spin the fibers to make thread. Now we're going to see an advance on the hand spindle in the form of the drop spindle.